Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear student. My name is Dr. Muhammad Adnan Asghar, and today we are continuing the previous topic named applications of thermal analysis in preparation of catalyst and in catalysis under the subject of thermal analysis. So far we have already discussed some of the main points of this topic, including the introduction and the four major portion of the lecture we have already disclosed, named was thermogravimetry in reactive environments, identification of surface sites by temperature, programmed desorption of adsorbed probe molecules, and evolved gas analysis, and the last one was the TTA-DSC. We have already discussed about the thermogravimetry in detail with silica spotted vanadium catalyst, and another example we already studied is the mixed oxide catalyst, and last one was the potassium doped calcium oxide catalyst along with the magnesium nickel oxide catalyst. Now we will talk about the dehydration or dehydroxylation. So first of all, we need to study the role of water in dehydration or deoxidation in the catalysis. Bulk and spotted metal oxides catalyst usually contain variable amount of water. Quantitative determination of thermogravimetric methods under controlled atmospheres become imperative because several surface characteristics of the catalyst depends to the great extent on population of molecular water and hydroxyl groups retained by the oxides. Although the literature on the subject is quite abundant and we can search on Google and on different books, we shall select here only a few systems in order to study and emphasize the ability of TG methods to reveal the chemical processes taking place during water removal on solid surfaces. So first of them is the cerium oxide. CeO2 with a large surface area was obtained by slow thermal decomposition under constant and very low water vapor pressure. A thermogravimetric curve and its time derivative of cerium oxide precursors are quite obvious in this diagram. Two well-defined processes with maximum rate of mass loss at 350 and subsequently 800 Kelvin can be observed very clearly. The first mass loss, which represents about 3.7%, is attributed to the loss of water molecule coming from the surface of that precursor, either as water molecule or as both remaining hydroxyl groups and molecular water. The large trail of this first stage extending down to about 700 Kelvin can be seen in this picture, and which could be ascribed to the elimination of surface hydroxyl groups heterogeneously distributed on the surface. So the taking into account this mass loss, the composition of the precursor is determined to be cerium oxide 0.6 H2O. The second 0.77% mass loss, which occurs between 720 and 900 Kelvin, is attributed to the decomposition of carbonate structures formed on the surface as a result of interaction of basic surfaces sides with the carbon dioxide molecules during preparation and handling. A similar behavior was also studied by some of the scientists for La2O3 as CEO2. Although various researchers have described this high temperature mass loss to a multi-step decomposition of oxyhydroxide intermediates. The next example is lanthanide sesquioxides. Lanthanide oxides show a very rich variety of behaviors and solid state properties, which make them interesting subjects for catalytic investigations and properties. Available high purity lanthanide oxides can be used for such a purpose. However, the starting materials have a very small surface area due to high thermal treatment required for their purification. For this reason, the preferred method of preparation converts the starting oxides into compounds that may be decomposed to give same oxides in more porous form. This is very important to learn, and because the preferred method of preparation actually converts the starting oxides into compounds that may be decomposed to give same oxides in more porous forms. Although carbonates, oxalates, nitrates, and hydroxides have been used, dehydration of the later precursor has been favored because of their relatively low temperatures at which the decomposition occurs. The thermal dehydration behaviors of lanthanide sesquioxides Ln2O3 precursor have been studied by thermogravimetric and diffraction thermal analysis techniques. The thermal analysis show that in most cases dehydroxylation takes place through an intermediate oxyhydroxide, which is LNOOH, intermediate oxyhydroxide, that decompose to a respective oxide at about 670 Kelvin. The Tg curve for YbOH thrice obtained at a heating rate of sometime 10 Kelvin per minute in air revealed an initial mass loss from 300 degree to 475 Kelvin due to the removal of crystallization of water and of physically adsorbed water on hydroxide. The true stage of YbOH thrice decomposition occurs in temperature range 483 to 633 Kelvin and results in the formation of a well-defined YbOH intermediate with an endothermic peak. Subsequent dehydration of the hydroxide of Yb2O3 takes place at about 630 to 700 Kelvin, which would also yield an endothermic peak. Strongly bonded carbonates present on the oxide surface were difficult to remove due to their strong interaction of the basic trihydroxide precursor with atmospheric carbon monoxide during its preparation and handling. It was necessary to raise the outgassing temperature to 970 Kelvin to achieve carbonate decomposition. At temperature around 770 Kelvin, these oxides are well crystallized and have moderate specific surface areas. Similar behavior was observed for scandium hydroxide SCOH thrice zero gels. A typical thermogravimetric curve obtained for this zero gel at a heating rate of about 5 Kelvin per minute in oxygen free atmosphere is shown in figure. Oxygen free atmosphere means we need to provide the continuous supply of nitrogen gas. It will help us to flush out the oxygen atom in that premises. So it would be also known as inert medium or inert atmosphere. The initial 7 in this picture we can clearly see that the initial 7.4% of the mass loss that occurs between room temperature and about 630 Kelvin is due to the loss of molecular water, either hydrogenally bonded bridge or crystallization water. So there are two ways, either it can form a hydrogen bond or just the crystallization water. True scandium hydroxide decomposition occurs at 620 Kelvin, at about 620 Kelvin to extend up to 570 Kelvin, and actually it's the results of the formation of SCOOH intermediate, and at the inflection of the curve point 3, you can see this is the inflection of the curve point 3. Dehydration of the oxyhydroxide to give Sc2O3 scandium oxide takes place at 570 to 700 Kelvin. A broad tail up to 1023 Kelvin is due to the decomposition of carbonate structures that were formed on the surface as a result of interaction of strongly basic Sc2O3 precursor with carbon dioxide. So the next is the determination of the porous structures of catalyst. So first we are going to discuss the techniques that would be helpful for the determination of porous structures of catalyst. Adsorption equilibrium experiments using polar means water and non-polar hydrocarbons adsorbs have been conducted by some scientists in order to evaluate the changes in porous structures of supported catalyst when subjected to thermal treatments under reactive environments. The polar character of water involves specific interactions between water molecules and hydrophilic centers, which are selenol groups or compensating cations. These experiments were carried out at microgravimetrically using a 200 type of microbalance connected to a vacuum line and a gas handling system. Actually, it provides either high vacuum or controlled working atmosphere, which would be quite helpful for the actual determination of the porous structures of catalyst. Some of the selected examples of this application of microgravimetric adsorptions are given below. For example, the water and N-hexane adsorption on molybdenum sodium yttrium zeolites MONAY zeolites. Molybdenum containing white type zeolites, about 10% of mass, have been prepared by thermal decomposition of molybdate impregnate samples according to a non-conventional procedure which uses a constant rate of decomposition at very low water vapor pressure. So this is the conventional procedure which actually use a constant rate decomposition at very low water vapor pressure. The adsorption capacities at 300 Kelvin of N-hexane, which is nonpolar, and water, which is polar, were obtained for both MO/Y and reference sodium yttrium zeolite, previously thoroughly outgassed at 620 Kelvin. These isotherms actually in the entire range of relative pressure for molybdenum sample decomposed at about 800 Kelvin, and parent sodium NaY zeolite samples in all cases revealed a lower adsorption capacity for N-hexane than for water. These isotherms could not be fitted to usual two-parameter equation. So this means that from sorption capacity measurements, one can conclude that zeolite structures is largely retained when the impregnated material was activated at temperature below 600 Kelvin. So the third one is the thermogravimetry in reactive atmospheres. So far we have discussed the two important section of the lecture. This lecture named was the TG and the introduction. Now the third one is the thermogravimetry in reactive atmospheres. So first of all we need to know about the temperature programmed reduction named as TPR. So to understand these terms we need to study the reduction of oxides. Thermogravimetry TG combined with temperature programmed reduction TPR is a widely used technique for the characterization of reducible catalysts. The reduction of solid materials such as metal oxides, sulfides, halides, and sometimes carbonate have been studied extensively with microbalances to determine the effect of temperature, pressure, and gas composition on the extent and rate of reduction. In general, the mechanism of reduction is actually the sort from the mass losses as well as from the other different supplementary type data. The reaction of many transition metal oxides with hydrogen or other gases like carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide is already investigated, and the gravimetric data have been supplemented with measurements of surface area, X-ray diffraction, infrared spectroscopy of the products, and sometimes magnetic susceptibility of that particular compound. Sample size, impurity additions, and the influence of a carrier substrate, and the effect of static or flowing gas mixture have also been studied by different scientists to actualize the idea of uh, involvement of thermogravimetry in the detection of catalysis and catalysis. In this lecture, some examples of integral mass change as a function of reduction temperature will be discussed. So first of these example is the praseodymium cobalt oxide PrCOO3 catalyst. Small cobalt particles deposits on the surface of lanthanide oxides constitutes a class of important catalyst for a large variety of technologically important reactions. Technologically important reactions means sometime carbon monoxide hydrogenation, and sometime we need to use the methane reforming, and some other selective hydrogenations. These metal catalysts are usually obtained by the reduction of cobalt oxide precursors under some hydrogen atmosphere and controlled conditions. The controlled conditions mean we need to provide the specific temperature with our desired pressure and desired humidity, and other desired metal ions are the anions present in that premises. The first example selected here is actually a mixed oxide, cobalt praseodymium oxide COPRO3, in which the formal oxidation of both praseodymium and cobalt is +3. The crystal structure is a cubic perovskite. This is actually a perovskite. Perovskites mean this is actually AB3 type molecule. So if we talk about AB3, ABO3 or AB3, it means cobalt is A, praseodymium is B, and O3 is oxygen. So this is perovskite type of structure, and this is cobalt praseodymium oxide is a cubic perovskite. The TPR diagram of praseodymium cobalt perovskite expressed as electron per molecules. 1 electron per molecule would correspond to the reduction of cobalt 3 plus to cobalt 2 plus. This is actually the involvement of 1 electron per molecule would correspond to a reduction of cobalt 3 plus to cobalt 2 plus. Two reduction steps are observed. The first step, as you can see in the picture, of 1 electron per molecule takes place between 475 and 635 Kelvin, and on the other hand, second step corresponds to actually 3 electrons per molecules occurs between 722 and 810 Kelvin. So there is actually involvement of 1 electron per molecule which takes place at about 470 and 630 Kelvin, while the second step was the 3 electrons per molecule which occurs at about 720 and 810 Kelvin. Similar reduction steps were found for other compounds, for example like lanthanum cobalt oxide or lanthanum nickel oxide. These are all perovskite type of molecules. By measuring hydrogen consumption as a function of reduction temperature, we observed two reduction steps for PrCOO3, although at higher temperatures than those measured in this figure, in this diagram shown already. This may be due to a rather different experimental conditions used by these authors. Sometime the temperature for reduction levels of 1 electron and 3 electron per molecule in PrCOO3 as shown in figure are lower than those needed for the reduction of lanthanum cobalt oxide. This also indicates that lanthanum perovskite is more stable in hydrogen atmosphere than the praseodymium perovskites. So the next one is molybdenum aluminum oxide catalyst. Molybdenum MO catalysts play an important role in a wide range of reactions. Bulk molybdenum oxide and several molybdates are used in selective oxidations, while aluminum oxide and silicon oxide supported molybdenum oxide catalysts are applied for various purposes such as hydrox hydrodesulfurization and hydrogenation and alkene metathesis. The study of reducibility of molybdenum catalyst is useful in characterizing the acidic structure and in simulating the activation procedures needed for creation of active sites for hydrogenation and alkene metathesis. Although molybdenum oxide MoO3 reducibility has often been studied by means of isothermal reduction, TPR has proved to be a technique with its own merits. The TPR patterns of molybdenum aluminum oxide catalyst in their unextracted and extracted forms have been uh, studied by using microgravimetry. The starting reduction temperatures as well as the temperatures at which TPR maxima occurs for different molybdenum contents are summarized in this table. It can be seen from these data that the reducibility of MoAl2O3 molybdenum aluminum oxide catalyst is connected with molybdenum loading. The starting reduction temperature decreases with increasing MO loading, and this effect is much smaller for MO molybdenum extracted preparations. For example, the 8.9% of MoAl2O3 catalyst started to be reduced at 589 Kelvin, whereas the parent molybdenum extracted catalyst with 5.5% MO started at 668 Kelvin. Complementary information is obtained from two maxima T1 and T2 in Kelvin observed on each TPR pattern. Although such maxima could be described to the reduction of two well-defined molybdenum species of different reducibility, it is more probably due to two separate steps in reduction of MO ions. It is well known that reduction of MO6 plus ions by hydrogen at temperatures about 770 Kelvin preferentially gives MO4 plus. However, further reduction of such ions at temperatures above 900 Kelvin may progress to metallic molybdenum. Thus, the T1 peak could arise from first reduction step, whereas T2 peak would then be ascribed to a further reduction of the ionic molybdenum sites to the metallic MO. In addition, because both TPR peaks are very broad, it can be concluded that the heterogeneity of the surface is quite important. So the next is the lithium manganese and magnesium oxide catalyst, LiMnMgO catalyst. The genesis of Lithium doped magnesium manganese catalysts have been investigated, and integral mass change as a function of reduction temperature for manganese containing catalysts are summarized in this picture. The two lithium free Mg6 MnO8 and MnMgO catalyst displays two well resolved reduction steps. The high temperature step being the larger, these profiles change markedly for the two lithium containing catalysts. In order to define more accurately the temperature at which maximum mass change occur, integral data were differentiated, and these differentiated curves are displayed in figure B. The three peaks can be distinguished for Mg6, MnO8 and MnMgO catalyst. There is one well resolved low temperature peak at about 660 Kelvin and two other overlapping peaks located at temperature above 770 Kelvin. The intensity of low temperature peak is substantially lower than that of high temperature peak. These TPR profiles were dramatically changed upon incorporation of lithium into the manganese magnesium oxide base catalyst. This is all about the lithium manganese magnesium oxide catalyst, and this is actually the end of this lecture. Thank you very much.